Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you gotta get spotted. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun. Good morning, everybody. It is the 12th. I moved my chair and now my head is out of the frame. It's okay. Whatever. You know what? It's Friday. We got some news today. What do we got? We got consumer sentiment, right? Well, let's see here. Import prices. Canadian voter. Nobody cares about that. Michigan consumer expectations. Important number because we're all concerned. And we're all concerned that you're concerned. So we need to know how concerned you are and how much you might potentially hold back investment. So we got that. But overnight, it's been fairly mild here. You can see, really good on this top middle chart. You can see the big down move and kind of a retracement. When you look at the VIX targets, it's basically just a move back to where the VIX says that it should be able to get to. So it's not too bad, but man, it's sure. Listen, that is a move that, regardless of what happens, is going to scar the chart for a while. Yeah, that was just a monster move. And after it was crazy, like we took a couple of okay trades and stuff up in here. And then after we stopped streaming, it just got killed. Holy crap. Okay, now Treasury's also up. Treasury's back into the range. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if over the next month that we get up into this upper range here. Oil also moving down a little bit, but recovering. You can see here. Gold continues to be lackluster. Like they moved up but down. It seems like it's just for a short-term basis, flight to safety trades, it is just not being very effective. Honestly, when you look at the treasuries was okay. ZB was way better. Okay, ZB, you do it okay. But really, it's in the dollar. Like you really, it looks to me like money is just leaving the U.S. Well, the dollar is actually a little bit higher. They're pushing 97 now, but I mean, we were 100 like a week ago, so that's basically where that is at. So let's come back here. So we do have some news here in about 7 minutes, but probably we have plenty of time to chat today. I'm honestly considering how crazy of a day it was yesterday, and that it's Friday. I'm definitely gonna be risk adverse today. So if I take any trades, I'm going to take it in the experimental sim account. So it took some serious ones yesterday. We're gonna move it back to experimentation. And honestly, I might not take any because I just don't want to look foolish. This is one of those days where like I will have the tendency to take a ton of trades that are all bad. So we're going to avoid that. And the reason is, well, first of all, I ran out of my ADHD medication, so that doesn't help. But it's also I'm maxing out on Friday, and I've just found that when my nervous system is like at its peak, I don't know, fidgetiness or whatever, it's just yeah. Now would be a good time to test our reaction times. Oh, wait. First, before we do that, let's open up text speech. Because you guys are probably being the great people that you are and saying hi, Seth, and all that sort of stuff, and don't want to miss that. There we go. There's Leandro Matthias. Good morning. Thank you for stopping by every day, Leandro. Okay, there we go. All right, so reaction time. Let's see if we can get below 200. Well, that was slow. 12 is okay. I'm probably not quite there. I might need another day. Oh, there we go. 182. And maybe I just need to 215 zone in on it. Ha. Ha ha. Thank you. Thank you very much. $207. So there's signs tomorrow it'll be better. Tomorrow before I lift, I bet you.
Existent Being says morning, Seth.
Good morning. How are you? Now we can close that. I need to modify my camera here. I moved my chair to be a little bit more upright again, and mess with the camera. I guess I could just do this. There we go. Let's go out to this and there we go. That should be good. We can fix it up a little bit better another day. Global Times, China is resolutely opposed to the wrong move by the U.S. government to restrict Chinese students studying abroad and the politicization and stigmatization of normal exchanges. China welcomes students from all countries, including the U.S., to study in China, says the Ministry of. Who would want to move to China to study, though? Is that a thing? I don't think that's a thing. Oh, whatever. I bet you the people in China are like, yeah! Okay, let's see what our trader friends on Twitter have been saying. Brannigan and Barrett, chart of the day from the market ear. Bernstein, alternative way of calculating corona shows we could skyrocket. Probably we will have a lot of cases. I think I'm just not convinced that they're going to shut cities down. At least in Utah, I don't think that they
Winston's mom says good morning. And has Asher's mom Tim toked
No.
water on his cute baby head
They
yet?
didn't do that.
What happened yesterday? Market went as wonky as my keyboard.
Well, what happened yesterday? I'll tell you what happened. Trader's Gonna Trade, available now. Link in the video description below. I was a bender of a day, right? You know, one of the things that I think is funny is to watch everybody after the fact try and explain what happened. As far as I can tell, we were just too high and they had finally had enough. I mean, I didn't see any fundamental change, but everybody will always try and come up with an explanation. Well, on the RSI, we were blah 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 blah. Or I was saying, the Fed had a very negative outlook during the meeting. That one I think is a terrible explanation. It's a terrible explanation because we knew that Fed didn't tell us anything new about the outlook. They didn't tell us anything new about the outlook. And if we learned anything new in the Fed meeting yesterday, it's that the Fed is the Fed doesn't care how much their actions might be boosting the stock market. That's what we learned yesterday. And I don't see how that's a negative for stocks. So, yeah, you get a lot of like people trying to explain it. And, honestly, I'm not sure that it can be explained. That's why I say traders going to trade. It was a real bender of a day, though, wasn't it? I have to say, one of the things that really concerns me about the move yesterday, I'm probably going to say that phrase a lot. One of the things that concerns me about the move, but one of the things that I thought was interesting is that safe havens really aren't performing. The treasuries were, of course, up. If you took it in the ZB, you would get a pretty good run, but it wasn't like an all-out trend day in the 30-year, like it was an all-out trend day in the equities. Gold gave back all of its gains for the session at the end of the day. The 6J was up, but it was kind of quite a bit of back and forth that day. So I believe this could be an indication that the move is retail traders. That it's retail traders getting pushed out of the way. That they're just taking their stops and their margin calls. And these aren't fund managers taking their money out and moving it somewhere else. Those managers are largely either got out before the Fed or never got in to begin with.
Sunday driver says bear market rally. Market has not priced in a Trump loss. What will market do when Dems win across the board and MMT will happen with AOC leading the charge to give free shit to everyone?
I don't think that that's actually going to happen, but there has been a shift on the predicted numbers towards Biden.
Winston's mom says traders gonna trade and 11 watching now trading futures live stream the 12th of June 2020. Please hit like. Thanks.
Did I change it to the 12th? I did. Cool. Yeah. Right now predicted says that Biden's going to win, but there's a long way to November, guys. It's a long way. With all the crazy stuff that's been happening, things can completely turn Donald Trump's way, and then Biden's way, and then Donald Trump's way like 3 or 4 times before the election, So I think it's a little bit too early to be trying to price in something, to really be trying to trade off of that. I guess if you really wanted to go short, now is a great time, but well, they had a little bit of a dip just before we got here. But they're recovering it fairly well. We'll see if they're able to hold it or if they turn back down again. Because if we have a negative day again today and we end the week selling, that's going to be pretty scary. And you got to wonder if people aren't going to want to hold positions over the weekend, right? So what's Nassim Nicholas Taleb going on about today? Bureaucrats can't get it in their head that masks and constraining super spreader locations are a much cheaper, less disruptive, and more effective way to solve the problem. 2. As a general rule, entropy-based methods are much more adapted to information by design. Unlike with correlation and other BS, what you see with your naked eye will map to the metric. Most geneticists use metrics they have no clue about. Do not know what that means. Oh wait, there was another. PCA maps that distort genetic distance between populations. They separate Greeks from Turks and are exploited politically by right-wing nuts and Euro supremacists. Yet it's impossible to figure out Greek from Western Turks with the naked eye. Our correction shows them much closer. That's interesting. This guy, he knows his stuff. Mr. Taleb. Trading floor audio. Dow futures bounced by 400 points as Wall Street tries to recover from its worst day since March, says CNBC. Uh-oh. What's Biden doing today? Oh, Donald Trump is retweeting a video of Biden. Let's see. What's he doing?
You know, the rapidly rising I don't know, you know, the rapidly rising.
I mean, people will do that.
Sunday Driver says safe havens aren't doing well because the market hasn't figured it out yet. Decades of the same formula working for them. Has worked for them. It works. Until it doesn't.
I think that when you see money coming out of a market, you should see that money move somewhere else. Like to the dollar, to cash. It's not happening. And given that people were saying that a lot of this run was driven by insane speculation from retail traders, they ain't going to hedge. They aren't going to move their money over to a different country or things like that. So I that's my theory. But I mean, we're just back to where we were last week. I don't know if you can sit down and look at that down move and say, it doesn't work anymore. Because then what they're going to do is they're just going to buy up today and all of next week, and then we'll be higher, and it'll just be a little bump in the road.
Winston's mom says I am reading in Bloomberg about Barstool Sports' Dave Portnoy, the founder of the media empire, dusted off his old E-Trade account and started day trading.
This guy. I'm starting to greatly dislike this guy. He's a narcissist that just blabs on stream. Doesn't really show anything interesting. Is just him making a fool of himself talking. And he's doing things he's like, I might be down $1 million. And he's like, okay. I would love to lose $1 million too, don't get me wrong. But like, that's easy. That's easy. That's easy. And I think that he's just pulling everybody's leg. I think he's getting like the media attention, but I think he's just pulling everybody's leg. He's doing crazy things and acting crazy, partly because he's a narcissist and partly because that's just what gets people's attention and gets the views, you know? I don't know. I guess I'm a little bit jealous, but then I always sit back and I'm like, yeah, but do I really want that crowd? I want the community to be successful. I want people to watch the channel, and I want the channel to be successful. I would love to make enough to buy, like a serious data feed, like a Bloomberg terminal or some of these macroeconomic researches and stuff like that. But I don't want to do it by attracting a bunch of featherheads. We want a serious community that is serious about trading and understands the risks that they're taking on and are in it for the long haul.
Sunday Driver says we all feel it. There's still a major dislocation in the works, and a large market move will be very profitable. Question is, where?
I don't know. So let me tell you one thing, Sunday Driver, is that when you get markets like this that are really volatile, especially in not just volatile, but a market where people are taking profits or losses. They're exiting positions. When people are exiting positions, I have found that it is incredibly difficult to trade well in that environment. Yesterday was a really big down day. It didn't really materialize until after I left. That just kind of shows you how it goes. It'll be like really wild. The pullbacks will be much deeper than you expect. It's really hard to catch a good spot. And in order to take advantage of it, you've got to get in like early and like hold it. Which for a lot of retail trade, well, for a lot of scalping, doesn't really work. You'll hold it, and then it comes back. And you don't know, it's going to be that 1 time in 10 that's like yesterday when it just completely goes out there. So, in my opinion, if you want to take advantage of this kind of action, I think it's better to wait out the craziest parts of it. You can play the craziest parts of it, but like be really, really light unless you got a good position. If you got a good position, then campaign it lower. And you're lucky and you can make a ton. But if you're not, preserve capital comes first, because you don't want to be the guy that, blew their account in March and then wasn't able to trade April, May. You know what I mean? Just always, I think we should always take it with the perspective, like, especially when we're getting trend days, because like a trend day is always a missed opportunity. But remember, there will always be other opportunities, and it's not worth blowing an account to take advantage of an opportunity, right? Okay. Houston on the precipice of disaster with virus cases spreading. We may be approaching the precipice of a disaster, says Hidalgo, the highest ranking county executive. Story from ukfinance.yahoo.com. Like if Houston does shut things down again, I think that the market would be pretty upset about that. I mean, Texas was one of the most cavalier about reopening. VIX have pulled back aggressively overnight. I'd say it's possible the lows are in and dip buyers are at work, says Brannigan Barrett. I think that if we're selling off, I don't think it's just going to be a straight beeline down. It's going to be really messy. You got to stop all these retail traders out. It's going to be very messy. Game on for a once again two-way market. Yeah. If you're going to buy the dip, then buy the strong market. NQ retesting a lower bound of this rising trend channel. I'm going to type something here.
Treasury_trader says, what are your thoughts on Bitcoin?
Well, where is it today? Ooh, they took quite a bit of a dive yesterday, actually. Well, I think that 10,000 is too high. I mean, that's the long and short of it. I think that 10,000 is too high, and two, it is not a safe haven at all, especially not when it's already too high. So I think that they don't have enough activity on their network to justify the price that they're asking for. Cudlow says the U.S. isn't seeing a second wave of coronavirus. I wouldn't be saying things like that. U.S. will not shut down the economy over COVID-19. Possibly what's pushing the E-mini to its session highs.
Treasury_trader says, why don't you think it's a safe haven?
Because it doesn't, because, okay, there is nothing, what is the word that I'm looking for? There is nothing about the way that Bitcoin works that would make it effective as a safe haven asset. Essentially, its case for being a safe haven asset is premised entirely on people thinking that it is one. And when you have that sort of a thing, I think that you're in trouble. And it's really the same case for gold, although there are some industrial uses for gold. When you look at gold, the vast majority of the activity that we see right now is from speculation. And that if there's not a fundamental driver to enforce that correlation, then there's always a really good chance that that correlation falls apart. As an example, here during this crisis at key points, gold has failed to rally on really bad days. So you're in gold, you're hedging yourself with gold. Over the long run, it has been moving up. But on some of those key days, it didn't move up. On some of those key days, it actually moved down because people got margin calls and had to dump their gold to pay for other stuff, right? And that's kind of the same thing that's happening in Bitcoin is that things go down and then people have to pull their money out to pay for other stuff. That's what you get in Bitcoin. As opposed to something like treasuries, for instance, because of the Federal Reserve and the interest rates and everything like that, when the economy starts doing poorly, the treasuries have to move up. They really have no choice because the interest rate will change. And that is set by the Federal Reserve. So there's a fundamental driver that really creates treasuries as a safe haven asset, similar with the dollar, right? So that's where I say it doesn't. The fundamentals for it as a safe haven asset aren't very good. And when you look at how it actually behaves during these moves, it's very clear that this is true now at this point. I think it's unquestionable now. The first time there was definitely a reckoning and there was a bit of denial, but now that it's done it like 2 or 3 times now that it went down yesterday too, I really don't see how anybody can argue that it's a safe haven anymore. And in fact, I would even argue that it's probably one of the worst places to put your money in to keep it in as a safe haven because it's deflationary. Think about it. What really drives Bitcoin? There's speculation and then there's activity on the network itself. So when I mean activity on the network itself, I mean people mining coins, selling them to other people, and then other people buying those coins so that they can use it to buy other stuff, and to transact with it. Well, the more people that are doing that compared to the number of coins there are, the more it's going to be worth. The more they're going to be willing to pay for more for a coin, right? So if the economy is moving down, are people going to be buying more or less stuff with Bitcoin? And it's the obvious answer is they're going to be buying less stuff with Bitcoin. And that means that it's not worth as much. It is a deflationary. So this is a real problem with cryptocurrency, or at least Bitcoin as it has been formulated, because you could never base a country's economy on Bitcoin. You could use it for transactions to move money, but it would be like switch it to Bitcoin and then move it back to dollars. And once the United States government makes their own blockchain, then that kind of eliminates that thing, right? So the real long-term thesis for being in Bitcoin is to hedge yourself against central bank stimulus, right? But because of the way that Bitcoin is formulated, it can never really truly serve that purpose, because in a down economy, it goes down. So that's why I say it's not a safe haven. And to elaborate on that even further, my Patreon, I post a chart every day, although I think I might have forgotten yesterday, but I post cryptocurrency charts to show the valuation level. And this model is able to predict behavior fairly well, although Bitcoin has been in a bubble state for a long time, probably due to tether printing, we'll see. And the model shows very clearly that this is the case, that Bitcoin is deflationary, and that the majority of the activity comes from speculation, and that you get a speculation bubble and it pops. Haven't seen much new from Kudlow other than that they're adamant that the U.S. isn't seeing another wave. Anyways, they're down, of course.
Treasury
But only
underscore trader says,
to
well, gold
91.
always worked as a safe haven, and historically it got more and more expensive, but with Bitcoin I am really not sure, and treasuries always work until the government doesn't anymore. Treasury underscore trader says, so gold is so far the only thing we know, what always had some sort of a value, but yeah, I am also very unsure about Bitcoin.
Yeah, but I mean, this is a problem there, is that the reason that it had some sort of value was because people believed it did. There was nothing fundamental about the way that it worked that would cause it to be that way. And now that you've seen it kind of crash during rallies, it's kind of losing some of the allure. You notice it's not really moving like it did in like 2008, for instance. So retail traders that aren't kind of up with the developments are still buying it, but it looks to me like the institutions aren't. It's kind of problem. Maybe gold will end up becoming the safe haven in the long run still. I mean, Jeffrey Gunlock was saying the dollar's going to get killed and you should buy gold. But if there's nothing fundamental about the way that that asset works to ensure that it's a safe haven.
Sunday Driver says physical gold and silver cannot be purchased for the paper price. We know that central banks are buying tons of gold.
Yeah, it might be. If there's nothing fundamental about the way that the asset works, there's always going to be that lingering possibility that it doesn't behave the way that you want it to when you need it to, and that's what's happened with gold. I should keep my eyes over here. The treasuries have come down a decent amount. If you really wanted to buy it, I suppose it's come down enough to justify it, but I'm not really seeing, the tape doesn't really seem to be suggesting to me that we get a good spot. So what happens when the pumping of the Fed balance sheet no longer contains a volatility? We try negative rates. Peak BS, says Brannigan Barrett. Well, first of all, I don't know if the Fed needs to pump more. But also, I really don't think that they're going to do negative rates. I don't know why everybody, it seems to me, like on the negative rates thing, it seems to me that people want the negative rates for some reason. I don't think it's so much that they think it's a good idea or anything, or that it's likely and that it would be a bad thing. For some reason they want it. For some reason they want it to happen. Like they want it to happen because it would be bad and it would finally put a stop to some of the nonsense going on at the Federal Reserve. I think that's maybe why they think it. The Senate is going forward with this requirement that Pentagon remove Confederate names from bases.
The Republican-led Senate Armed Services Committee has approved an amendment.
Pause that. Is it attached to a different bill? Yes, they're adding it to the National Defense Authorization Act. Well, that's interesting. It's going to be interesting how they how that one turns out. Like, so first of all, does the Senate able to remove it? But then B, if they can't, and there's a good chance that they won't, will they still vote for the bill? And then C, will Donald Trump still approve it? At that point, is Donald Trump going to veto the bill over that? I don't think he can. I don't think that would be very wise. So I think that he's going to end up eating it, and then that's going to look really bad for him. I don't know. Probably it doesn't get to his desk. That just seems to me like something that wouldn't make it. Well, I can see Igor in Discord. He had some longs, but he took some profits there, so. I wonder why this is not updating. That's been more than 4 minutes since Kudlow says U.S. is not having a second wave. Okay, well, then turn it down there. Ugh, I don't really know what's going to happen. There is this area around 3090 that I think that they would be really interested in revisiting. There's a naked point of control 2940 is also a possibility. I guess, though, for me, I need to wait till
Wonka Tonking says howdy, Seth.
Hey, how's it going? Yeah, no, we've got consumer sentiment, and I think that number is pretty important. And so I think that for me, the flows are probably not going to be incredibly good until that happens. Federal politicians proposing defunding police must personally bear responsibility, says Chris Farrell in the Daily Caller. I'm not seeing the Squawk say anything, though, for some reason. Well, what else we got going on out there? Let's see if there's anything new with some of these research websites we've been looking at. How the COVID-19 pandemic will disrupt research. We've reached the silly phase of the bull market. Yes, it's silly. Oh yeah, I forgot this one was a podcast. Yeah, it's not a whole lot going on out there, guys. Now is a time where we can often get some good trades. Maybe if we really wanted to go short, we could do so in here around 57. But I don't see any reason that it has to do that. And, well, yeah, I don't really see. I do see people moving into gold today. Gold is on a pretty good trend today. The dollar is relatively flat and maybe kind of starting to show some volatility. I think I'm not as excited today because I'm not only a long week, but I'm not on. I haven't had my medication, and yeah, I forgot to go and get it refilled. Of course, it's such an ADHD thing to do, right? LeBron James and other athletes start organization to help African Americans vote. Cool, I guess. Do they have a problem with turnout? Well, back up to 3060. Yeah, in fact, I'm feeling sleepy. The treasuries continue to feel some pressure. So they shouldn't be so easy for them to get below 22.5 with that point of control there and everything like that. Joy Bear walks back remark calling Trump a domestic terrorist on The View. Yeah, how about that? What did the Republican Party has not yet voted on a platform. No rush. I prefer a new and updated platform, short form if possible.
Treasury_trader says just by looking at the DOM since 223 hours. I do have the feeling we should move lower in treasuries today.
Yeah, This is probably alluring at 22.5. But the liquidity is favoring a down move. The heck is this? Congress is quiet today, but Washington has quite the next 6 weeks in store. Congress is going to try to cobble together a police reform package. All parties appear in agreement that another coronavirus relief package needs to get done, including some sort of extension of unemployment insurance. A video here of some Miami chaos, apparently. Some people trying to stop a car. Oh, they pull this guy out of his car. And the police come in and break it up. Oh man. Oh, you should watch. Okay, I'm gonna show you guys this. Because that was I won't turn on the audio. Can you believe that they're like the doors are open there? Oh, it was a police officer in the vehicle. And they take this guy. I see. It was a police vehicle. They're trying to stop. Look at this guy. That man he's a big boy. And everybody that comes to try and start a fight with them, they arrest. Crazy. That's Miami, huh? Well, interesting. Paul Krugman, slightly disturbing. I went for a longish run in New Jersey Park this morning. I thought the protocol was clear. You don't have to wear a mask all the time when running, but you should put it on when passing other people. But not one person besides myself was doing that. Yeah, you know what, dude? Like, nobody cares anymore. It's going to be a problem. There's going to be another wave for sure. There really shouldn't have been.
Existent being says any excuse to take out all this built-up animus.
I guess.
RJ Wheel says I can't believe the media isn't covering Seattle Free Zone
Right?
protest.
I mean, I don't know if they're not covering it or not because I don't watch cable news, but I haven't seen a whole. I mean, well, I have seen some stuff on YouTube about it. I certainly see stuff on the Donald about it. It seems to me that like what is essentially a communist revolt, you know, a group of people taking over a section of a city and imposing their own government, essentially, this is what they're saying it is, would garner more attention. But you know what? This is just a big joke. Do you see that the governor was saying, like, that area was always autonomous?
RJ Wheel says mention isn't covering. If it was right-wingers, it would be 24/7.
Oh, yeah, for sure. If it was right-wingers, that would be, yeah. You're right. You're totally right. There's definitely a double standard. Chief, Seattle owned slaves. Guess Seattle must be renamed, destroyed, or removed like all monuments deemed racist. Oh, jeez. This is just going to get so silly, guys. I'm telling you, if you're going to do like a cultural revolution of sorts, you're going to have to, like, you can't do it incrementally, right? You can't be like, okay, we're going to remove these. And now we're going to remove Christopher Columbus because he was racist. And we're going to remove Seattle because he owned slaves, even though he was an Indian. And then we're going to remove Thomas Jefferson and George Washington because they had slaves. No. Like, set everything out on the table. We agreed to the list. One time. Done. Nobody wants to deal with the constant, political correctness creep. Doing it little bit by little bit. No, thank you.
JB says feels like 1984 coming to life.
I just think that ever since Occupy Wall Street, that the Democrat Party has encouraged fringe portions of the left in crazy, unrealistic political beliefs, and nobody challenges it. And so you've created a generation of people that are just absolutely clueless about a lot of things about how the world works. And this is the result. You notice when you look at them, they're always kids, and they have no clue what they're talking about.
Sunday Driver says it is 1984 meets Sack of Rome.
Meets Sack of Rome. Nah, you want 1984, go to China. That's what's going on over there.
RJ Wheel says sure they do. But don't get close to the nomination.
Yeah. Well, it's a little crazy how much you have to
Uzi
placate
Knesset
them.
says you want 1984. Just use social media lol.
Yeah. Right?
JB says I like that Sunday Driver.
Some of the censorship and social media is just insane to me. I think that if they're not breaking a law, that it should be allowed on a major platform like Twitter. It's just, there has to be at least one place where anything is allowed. It's in my opinion, I think it's important for a free functioning society, even if some nasty people end up using it. And honestly, the thing that bothers me the most about it is, why are you worried?
Uzi Knesset says Twitter is by and large the reason for the erosion of the world. I just don't understand why, given that, relatively speaking, no one uses it.
I was going to say, I don't know how influential Twitter really is, because only the Twitterati use it. I've been trying to join the Twitterati for years, and they won't let me in.
JB says not sure if it's Twitter or Facebook.
Sunday
Facebook
Driver
is
says we live
definitely
in a
more
time when
influential.
what is considered to be a dissident voice changes from one day to the next. If you are outspoken on cultural and social issues, you are crazy if you use your real full name.
Uzi
I'm
Knesset
not
says
crazy.
all I know is that a dozen tweets can make $1 billion company bend the knee lol.
Sure. I feel like I'm pretty careful about what I say though, right? I mean, I'm willing to say controversial things, but I'm always try to be smart about what I say, and I might say controversial things, but I don't think I say stupid things very often. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. I've, I joined Facebook when you still had to have a university email to get in. And
RJ Wheels says Uzi I don't think you can use the phrase bend the knee anymore.
yeah, that's not allowed. And I remember when they didn't have status updates on Facebook. Like you could change your status to say, "Oh, I'm
Uzi
feeling
Knesset
happy,"
says
or
you live
whatever.
in a world where hello can be construed as racism depending on your facial expression lol.
But there wasn't stat, and then and then Twitter came along, and I remember when Twitter started, and then Facebook tried to Twitterify Facebook, which was okay. In the beginning, it was
JB
cool
says lol.
because people actually posted like good content, but now people don't post good content. Like it's only political stuff that people post on Facebook, right? And you can't like promote yourself anymore all through this service. That's what really ruined Facebook, in my opinion, was when they started throttling everybody so that they could make money off of the advertisements on pages. When they did that, that killed Facebook for me, because it used to be such a great method to like get the word out, and that's the thing that I think is really missing today. Right now, if you want to be visible, you can make YouTube videos, or you can go on TikTok, and if you make a good video, it will get recommended to people, and you can build up a community that way. But it's slow and go.
Winston's mom says you are a slow learner, Winston. George Orwell, 1984, and my Winston Ferret kind of sort of was, bless his little heart. Duke.
But on Facebook, it used to be that you could add a bunch of people that shared a certain interest and then start posting about it and get a ton of interest on that, and you could do the hustle, and you can't do that anymore. And on Reddit, if you try and promote yourself, people get all bent out of shape. Even if you're doing like, I think there's a rule of thumb that you should be contributing 10 times what you're asking. So if you promote yourself once, then you should make 10 other posts that are worthwhile content. But there's not very many places anymore that you can do that. Facebook groups, I guess. Facebook groups.
Sunday Driver says your topics are pretty vanilla. Investing. Start talking about third rail topics. Lol. What is third rail? We know, but it changes all the time. Old tweets are getting people fired.
Well, we talk politics all the time. John leave bots. Bots probably leaves halfway through the stream every time because we'll bring up a political subject. We've been more mild about it lately.
JB says, and that is crazy as well.
Yeah, so the people getting fired over tweets is a little crazy, but I have yet to see an instance of one that I really thought
Uzi
was
Knesset
like...
says being an independent trader is the only safe job on earth, haha.
Let me rephrase. The ones that I've seen where this has come up and somebody really did lose their job and it's become like a media story, they always said something stupid. The cases that I've seen, I'm sure that maybe there's places where somebody just said, hey, you shouldn't riot and destroy property, and they lost their job. I'm sure it's possible, I suppose. I think one of the things here is that when you're going to talk, I think that some people want to say things just to piss people off. Now, I understand it. Like pissing people off is fun.
JB says, but if so bad, then they should have been fired then. Not years later.
Oh yeah, totally. But for a tweet later, it's ridiculous. For sure. It's bullying. It's trying to bully people into holding a particular belief system. or at the very least trying to hold the impression of a certain belief system. See, like that's the thing again, going back to it with Twitter and the censorship is what bothers me is that people are afraid to reveal what people really think, right? See, Democrat, let's call it propaganda. Democrat persuasion techniques almost always center around everybody's doing it. They are the popular party.
Winston's mom says the hustle Van McCoy warning. Earworm bug, do the hustle. Do the hustle. Do it. Do.
If the Democrat Party had a smaller portion of the electorate than the Republican Party did, like if the Republican actually had more people, which we know that they don't, okay, the whole premise of their party would fall apart because it's all based on being popular. And so they are concerned that anybody would see anything that says that, oh, the Democrat ideas really aren't that popular. Or even if it was just like maybe they have a 5% edge, right?
Uzi
But if they see
says
equal,
for NBC
equal,
News,
it concerns them.
immediately. NBC News and MSNBC will capitalize the B in black when referring to people or the community across all the network's platforms.
I'm still confused on if they want to be called black or African American or what. To me, the term African American doesn't make much sense because they're not from Africa. Well, I mean, they've lived in America all their lives.
It says sound familiar? You're a religious man, right? Winking face.
Right. But anyways, it's just like they don't want anybody to be exposed to other ideas. And at that point, I'm like, are you afraid that if people are exposed to other ideas, that they might not choose your ideas? And this is where it gets into weird stuff, like the flat earthers, okay? I think that we're responsible for the flat earthers. In reality, they're going to come, because what happened was, on YouTube, these people that believed that the earth is flat, one guy in particular, there was one guy in particular that kind of started it, really. And he made engaging content. And the people that were, saying that it's not, the earth isn't flat, were boring and didn't make engaging content. It was, and because they just dismissed them, they never engaged it on ideas, right? Like if you're actually engaging on a platform of ideas, like the documentary Behind the Curve. If you haven't seen the documentary Behind the Curve, you should definitely watch that. That is one of the best movies I have seen in the past few years, and it is so entertaining. All right. But because we didn't engage them on a platform of ideas, these people were just allowed to create this bubble.
Sunday Driver says if you violate liberal progressive protocols, you'll likely be terminated. What is coming in the trans rights movements is going to be crazy.
Yeah. One of the things is that because I live in Utah, I'm so insulated from things like that. If in Utah, if somebody tried to get you fired over something that you said, unless it was really, truly something like really offensive, okay? But if you just said, hey, people shouldn't loot and riot, and somebody tried to get you fired over that,
Uzi Knesset says trans
just
rights
gonna
are
laugh
very
at you.
rapidly evolving into child consent.
Oh yeah, that one is messed up. Although I think that they're kind of pushing back on that successfully. Like one state passed a law that basically made it illegal, and that whole thing is just crazy too. One of these things you gotta keep in mind too, though, is that it's not really super widespread. The trans rights thing is the thing that I find is weird is the whole, well, not weird, but like I would be more concerned about culturally is the whole like cisgender thing, right?
Car OZU says, by the way, black would like to be called by their name. As a person just like you.
There you go. Well, but I mean, if you want to refer to
Sunday
voting
Driver
groups,
says should men who identify as a woman be given access to YMCA dressing rooms for young girls? Trans rights advocates say yes.
no, I don't think so. I think that as far as the government is concerned, let me rephrase the idea that gender is a social construct. I don't really particularly care about. As far as the government is concerned, I don't think they should care about gender. I think that they should only care about what I'm going to say is sex, which is what your chromosomes are. If you want to go into the men's bathroom, you need to have a Y chromosome. That's the way I see it. I think that anything else is opening a can of worms that introduces too many problems. And you always got to remember that there can be there's pluses and minuses to everything, right? So I think that sometimes we want to just accept the current system and not want to consider what are the possible disadvantages to that system. Like, we have to acknowledge that there are disadvantages to the current system, but that it's still preferable to other alternative systems out there. This is where we have a problem with defund the police, right? Okay. Are there problems with police enforcement as it exists today? Yes. Guess what, guys? Police are always going to abuse
Sunday
power.
Driver says if you're a restaurant owner and push those views, that will get the state to shut down your business by way of suing you into oblivion.
There will always be police officers that abuse their position because when people have power, they tend to abuse it. And it's important to have a system that when there is abuse of power, that you're able to get justice. And I think that right now there are places where that's not possible, and that's a problem, and we need to fix it. Okay, that's like a disadvantage to our system. But you also have to realize that that's kind of a disadvantage that was kind of accepted a long time ago. Well, not a long time ago, even as recently as the 90s in New York, where they kind of said, we're going to give the police more leeway in exchange for less crime-ridden cities. And guess what? It worked, and people were happy with it. So there's pluses and minuses to things. This whole defund the police thing, so far, it looks like you just get chaos, right? But hey, maybe there are parts where you can take smart. Like, instead of defunding the police, why don't we just say, hey, let's fund mental health response personnel or something like that, whatever it is that they want to call it, right? You're just a small unit that are there to respond to incidents with mental health, to deal with people that have mental health problems, and see if that's effective, right? Instead of let's just scrap the whole system and replace it with this huge big thing that we know nothing about, that never been tried before. You can't just make changes like that
JB
all at
says
once.
if police defunded, watch gang crime go up.
Oh, sure.
Just my prediction.
Oh, sure. But they claim that it's not defund the police, which is this is the one I was ranting about this on my Facebook. Listen, the people in Minneapolis that came up with this phrase, it 100% meant just completely get rid of the police. That's what they wanted. And what is happening now is all of the Democrats that don't believe that, because a very, very small minority of those people believe that. But you can't go against the Black Lives Matter movement. So now you have to, that's a cognitive dissonance that you have to resolve. So you have to say, oh, well, that's not what they really meant. No, it is. You're just changing it now. But even with what you're saying, you're proposing changes to a system without a whole lot of evidence about how it works. And I personally am not comfortable with you completely changing the way that the police system
Sunday
in my
Driver says
city
when they
works
say that
without
it doesn't
evidence
really mean
of its
abolish the
efficacy.
police. They are lying. It does mean abolish the police.
They're lying, yeah. Well, they're in denial about it. The most of these people are in denial about it. Honestly. And I see a lot of that in the Democrat Party. They don't think that Antifa is really a thing, that they don't want to admit that there are anarcho-communist groups out there causing havoc. Okay. You can see it in Seattle. They've literally taken over a section of the city, and the governor is like, "Oh, I didn't know anything was going on. That area has always been autonomous." Really? You have a communist revolution going on in your state, and you really expect us to believe that you didn't know about it? What?
Sunday driver says I hear that rapes and violence are quite high in the Chaz. Seattle mayor said that it's just a friendly block party. What a joke.
I don't know if they say that the crime rate has gone up like 300%, but you're talking about like a small sample, so
Just me says Sunday driver comrade, did you drink your vodka today or did you switch to bleach?
well, that's another thing that drives me crazy is like when you look at Black Lives Matter, like some of the materials that they put out, they use the word comrade. And then people deny that there's
Uzi
any.
Knesset says I got a friend who said his buddy went to the Chaz and said it really is just a hippie fest of wokeness.
Nothing crazy
going on there apparently.
Well, I think that some things are probably being exaggerated, right? Because we really are only talking about like 4 blocks in Seattle in an area that's pretty liberal anyways. I think that this is really no different from the encampments that were created by Occupy Wall Street.
Sunday driver
It's
says I actually love vodka. My only favorite alcoholic drink.
I think it's pretty much the same thing that was happening with the Occupy Wall Street movement. It's just now they're calling it an autonomous zone. But really, this is just an attempt to redo Occupy Wall Street because they thought, oh, maybe we did it wrong. But then in the Chaz, there's a warlord has popped up. That is absolutely confirmed. Like there was a video from yesterday of a guy was doing graffiti, and the warlord came out and stopped him. By the way, there's the open. There's a lot of volume on the open, but it's mostly buying by. There's about the tune to 1,500 contracts, and but we're moving down. They're probably a little disappointed by that, but let them try both directions here. I'm sure there's going to be some.
Just me says as a
attempts
pos
at buying.
reason, you should drink only vodka. Leave bleach for the Putin's bitches in Murica.
There. I don't drink, but one time my grandfather left vodka on the table, and I thought it was water, and never again.
RJ Wheel says Snake Pilkin will solve the Seattle problem.
I don't know what that is. I'm sure that it'll just fizzle out. Eventually, they'll lose interest. They want to go home. I mean, part of the thing is that they want this. How do you say they want to believe that in this like socialist utopia, hippie utopia, that
RJ Wheel says escape from Seattle.
they don't understand how infrastructure works. They don't understand how taxes work. They don't understand how businesses work. You know, they really have misguided ideas about the way that people are, and eventually they lose interest in it, just like the Occupy Wall Street. You let it just sit. So like Donald Trump saying, oh, they should do something. I mean, because they're coming in and declaring themselves an autonomous zone, I understand like it's concerning, but probably the last thing that you want to do is to just barrel in there with military and clear everybody out. Like when they did that with the Occupy Wall Street protests, usually made things worse, right? They'll get bored. You'll only come in if real violence is happening.
Just go to Alabama if you don't like Seattle. Roy Moore will take care of your teenage daughter too.
Oh, Roy, is he still a thing? I thought that after he lost, he just disappeared. Although that guy that won the seat is probably going to lose it this time around. Okay, so there
RJ
was
Wheel says he's on the next primary, I think.
You know what? I didn't pick the right session templates, and so even though I had MES on here, I didn't get CME indices, so it didn't reset the way that I wanted it to. I would prefer that it resets.
Sunday Driver says, I think it's bad to allow law-breaking malcontents to just decide they are going to take over part of a city and we just wait them out until they get bored and leave.
Just Me says, do you expect any better from inbred Alabama?
I'm telling, like, if you have to be violent about it, then you run into serious problems, man. That doesn't, they don't just, you don't just kick them out and then they go, oh, okay, well, whatever, I guess we'll go do something else, right? Like, it's way better. It's, if you can get people to do things on their own, it's always going to be better, all right? It's always going to be better if you can get people to do things on their own. They will get bored, and as long as there's not violence occurring or severe crime, you know, of course, there probably is a point at which authorities need to step in. But right now, if the Seattle, you know, authorities can really pretend like nothing weird is going on, then maybe it's not really as concerning as we might think. And that's just the thing. That's kind of one of the cases that I'm trying to make here, is that the Donald Trump supporters and what you read on the Donald is probably exaggerating it because it's entertainment for them. I mean, honestly, the stuff that's going on, like the homeless ate all the food, and you know, it's funny. They're going to want to highlight it, but it's probably not as big of a deal.
Sunday Driver says the act of taking over is violence against people's property rights and freedom of travel.
Well, supposedly the businesses were in the area were on board with it. So, I don't know. What's this? Oh.
Sunday Driver says they just say that because they fear the mob.
Man, speaking about cancel, can I? Oh my gosh. So, see, this is, you know, I don't think that people should be silenced for their views per se, but you can't escape the consequences of what you say either, you know?
Just Me says Sunday Driver using military to kill his own citizens works in Ruja.
I don't think that you should lose your job over it, but you can't help if everybody thinks you're a douche because you said something awful. Somebody just showed me a picture of a guy. This girl got hit. It actually looks like she might have gotten hit with a rubber bullet in the eye. It's quite a bloody picture. I'm not going to show you. And this guy tweets, "Bullseye. The fuck is wrong with you, man? That is so awful." Like, hey, I really disagree with a lot of what the protesters are doing. And I kind of feel like when you're at a protest, you kind of have to accept responsibility that you're putting your own safety at risk in that kind of an environment, and that's a risk that you take. But to make a sick joke like that when something bad does happen is just so wrong, in my opinion. So wrong. And this is a person that I don't like. Somebody that I really don't like. Oh my gosh, that's so fucked up. Yeah. Using military to kill his own citizens.
Sunday Driver says, did we not use military to kill own citizens during Civil War? Of course, using the military to quell rebellions is proper and easily justified.
Well, yes, but there's pluses and minuses to everything,
Winston's
right?
mom says Snake Plissken did say, get a new president.
Let me try and elaborate on this. There's going to be positives and negatives to everything. If you allow them to sit there, then you could potentially have crime and other issues, but they are eventually going to get bored and they're going to go away, and it can be resolved in an amicable way. If you come in with the military, there could be violence. These people are armed. There could be like a firefight. People could die. And it's going to create martyrs. And people are going to try and do this elsewhere. So, in my opinion, the situation there has not escalated to the point at which you have have a rebellion quelling, right? This is like, earlier, it was good to bring in the National Guard to come in and restore order, but it's not good to bring in the National Guard and have to kill people, right? Like if you bring in the National Guard and people die, then that's really bad. I think that at this point in Seattle, that the risk of you coming in and somebody dying is too high and that it's not worth it. And that politically speaking, it's probably wiser to just let them get bored. And that's got to be why the governor and the mayor and everything are just kind of pretending like nothing bad is going on. Well, it was a pretty good move up there. I think probably they are going to have a recovery day. And I think that 30-90 area is really attractive. But I want to wait for the consumer sentiment.
Just Me says Sunday driver moron. Learn the American history, not the Russian one. The army killed armed traitors of the South, not civilians.
Sunday driver says the blame for violence is on the aggressor. No? Is it not an act of aggression to take over a city?
Well, who the blame should lie on is very different from who actually ends up taking the blame, though. Sunday driver, you should know that. I mean, come on. If Donald Trump brought the military in there, it would 100% be played up as Donald Trump using the military on his own citizens.
Sunday driver
blah,
says
blah,
the
blah,
Civil War was waged against civilians. Sherman's war on the South killed many civilians, and they were the target.
Just Me says for a Kozach, your English is great. R.J. Wheels says the North raped and pillaged. Didn't treat slaves any better.
Well, they had to do things to convince the South to give up, because the South was very dedicated to it. I think, one of the things with the Civil War is that everybody in school is taught that this was just over slavery. The North wanted to get rid of slavery, and the South didn't want to get rid of slavery, and so they had a war. And I mean, that's true in that the primary driver of the Civil War was slavery. But what you have to realize is that the issue of slavery had really driven a severe cultural divide between the North and South. And that includes opinions on issues of, states' rights, for instance. So it wasn't just like everybody that was fighting down there was like, I really believe in slavery and I think that that's worth dying for, right? It was really that slavery had pushed them into an ideology about other things. And so they were willing to die for their own right to do their own thing. And one of those things included slavery, or the thing that they really wanted to do was slavery. But they created this thing. The South was very ideologically attached to this. And there was a number of events leading up to the Civil War. And I really think if you're going to teach the Civil War history, because we always focus on the wars, like the Battle of Gettysburg and things like that. I think that if you want to learn Civil War history, focus on the things that happened before the Civil War. Because there was a number of things, and one of the things, for instance, was when a Northern abolitionist took matters into his own hands, right? And there was violence involved with that. That really incensed the South. When you come out and you see things like what's going on in Seattle, for instance, and if there was actually a real violence that spilled out over that, right? I'm just saying those sorts of things have led to a civil war in the past. It was that event that happened before the Civil War was extremely important in creating the conditions necessary for when the Civil War actually did occur. Right? I'm a Southerner and I wish the South had won, recognized the military has a right to fight all enemies. South declared themselves as sovereign and were. Yeah, I don't know, but I don't know how I feel about that.
Sunday Driver says I'm a Southerner and I wish the South had won.
How do we read it?
I
this way?
recognize that the military has a right to fight all enemies, both foreign and domestic. The South declared themselves sovereign. War was chosen.
I don't know. I really don't think that you can just come in and say, okay, we're no longer a part of the United States. Or like, I really don't think that it's okay for Utah to come in and say, we're no longer a part of the United States. I guess that part of that is because I just don't believe that the people in Utah want that. And maybe if the people in Utah did want that, maybe I would be okay with it. I don't know. I do feel like that the way that the North went about it, that they were going to subjugate the South into staying, was wrong. But at the same time, there was very good arguments in favor of what they were doing, and what they were doing was very much a right thing. And so I don't think it's quite so black and white. Like one of the things when I go through the Civil War history that I find so fascinating, and this is one that is not really talked about, but in the movie Lincoln, for instance, they bring this up. Okay, they bring this up, and it's just the tip of the iceberg. But Abraham Lincoln used grift and corruption to basically pass, the amendment that freed the slaves. Right, like they literally paid people off to make it happen. Right. And Lincoln had done many things that I think if you were to do today, might not hold up in the Supreme Court. He did many, many things. He very much abused power. And it was like he knew what needed to happen and what was right. And he was willing to bend the rules a little bit to get what he wanted. And is that really okay or not? Is kind of I don't think that's a question with a simple answer, because in the end it was a good thing for the United States and the world and everybody involved that the South lost the Civil War and the slaves were freed and that we stayed as one country. The United States would not be a very strong country if the core and the periphery were separated into separate states. It just wouldn't be an effective country anymore. It bothers me so much when I see, especially Californians, be like, we don't need the rest of the country. We just fine on our own. We should be our own country. Yeah. Let's see how that works when Utah shuts your water off, because we give you a lot of water, and if you're going to be another country, we would love to not give it to you anymore. Those things like that. Like, we're dependent on each other, and we do not realize how dependent we really are, because you can't see the big picture as just a person. You just see like the one thing that you're doing. So this whole thing about, was what he did right or wrong? I mean, I think ultimately I can't sit down and say what's right and wrong because I'm not God. But I can say that what he did was effective and was the best thing for everybody in the end. So that's one that's kind of hard to navigate through, but that's my take on it. But it's important to think about the history of things like that, right?
Sunday Driver says that's a point. Remember, the winners write the history books. Northern states had slaves throughout the entire war. Lol.
Well, I didn't know that. I'd have to go and research that. So they made a pretty good move up there, and now they're coming back to it. We'll see if they decide to turn down or not. We still got about 10 minutes to the consumer sentiment news and so forth. So yeah, we just gotta sit tight here. How far back do I have to zoom out to really see things today? Cool. I don't know. It makes me uncomfortable to sit down and hear you say, the South should have won. I just can't agree with that. But I remember there was an instance with somebody on Twitch saying something similar to that. But they were kind of making another case that I thought included some things that were some misinformation, let's say. Anyways, we need to come over here and look at Twitter. Double check on things. Donald Trump has been tweeting a lot of stuff lately, but he hasn't been making a whole lot of really significant tweets. It's just a lot of like retweeting other people. Which is kind of an interesting change from him. Okay, let's check here. We're looking for consumer expectations to be no. Consumer sentiment, we're looking for a reading of 75 with a previous reading of 72.3. Current conditions be 85, previous of 82.3. Those numbers are less than expected, and it's certainly if they are less than the previous month, then that would be really, really bad for markets. So we'll see. It's a battle of the virus present versus the free money future, says Forex Live. Maybe. I don't know if that's what's really going on right now. I kind of think that the free money, that even with the free money future, that the stocks have overextended themselves. And you got a bunch of people that have no clue what they're doing and no clue about the amount of risk that they're taking on. And oh, they had a picture of a bull and a bear. I won't show you. It's a little disturbing. John Grady, this is probably going to be a tough day to trade fairly wide overnight range in treasuries with a lot of volume at most traded prices. No obvious support and resistance. Stock traders will most likely not commit to size today, which leads to a lot of chop with frequent slow periods. Expect thin volume. Well, we have so far have had a lot of swings, and in the treasuries we've had a lot of swings. Yeah, it's been difficult trading. I don't know. When I think about things like that, it's always like, I think that sometimes people will have good points, but we over extrapolate the meaningfulness of those points, because it's like when you see something that you think proves you right, like you really latch onto it. You know what I mean? And it's really hard to see that like the world is so much more complicated than that. I think that stock trading, if you're doing it, if you really dedicate yourself to it, that it can be nothing more than humbling, because you can come in and you might have something that works. But if you have something that works, all it does is make you realize how little you know about what it's actually going to do. Like, where are we going to be in 5 minutes from now? Well, it's 30.61 right now. I have no clue. They could be like another move up and we could move to the highs. That would be totally possible in the next 5 minutes. You know what I mean? Like the system is so complicated. Our ability to understand it is so small. And it's so very much the same thing with history. It's like if a group of people want to break off from a country, should they be allowed to do it? And it seems like from an ideological standpoint that like yes or no, but it really is actually so much more of a complicated thing than that. And I don't think that any of us are really in the position to say it should or shouldn't be. right? That I would leave that one up to God. That's maybe a better rundown of how I feel about that sort of a thing. I'm glad that the North won. In the end, I'm glad that the North won. It was the better thing for everybody. Well, what are the treasuries are still kind of down on the lower end. So like we were saying earlier, seems like the pressure is to the downside. But you notice when we were talking about this last time, we brought this up. We were right there at 22.5, 23, and now we're down one tick. And we could very easily just tick back up to it. So the treasury really hasn't moved.
Luis Alarid says whatever happened to majority rule, not what one small group with guns wants.
Well, I mean, I'm not a believer in democracy, to be honest. Can I put it? That's probably not the way that I should say it. I think we're a republic. I think that pure democracies are broken and don't work. And that's why you have a republic. Because the general public is simply not capable of understanding the issues well enough to be able to make decisions the way that a representative can. That's why we have republics. And humans have discovered this a very, very long time ago. Now we're getting into this age where the public very much has a very direct impact on the way their representatives vote because of Twitter and so forth. And I think that it's exposing some real problems. Of course, they should be responsible to the people, but sometimes the people just don't know what's going on, man. Like if we were going to craft, banking regulations, man, there's only a few people in the world that really understand that system well enough to really even be qualified to make recommendations on what the laws should be. And you want to hand that over to Twitter? What the heck is this? Rob Smith tweets, "It is written, thou shalt not trade ones." Okay.
Sunday Driver says Starbucks backpedaled and now allows employees to wear BLM items.
Oh, really? Well, okay. I'm surprised that they didn't allow that in the first place. I'm actually quite surprised. All right, so we're going to settle somewhere around 3060.
Isarejo says it's been a while since last time I was here. Are we still
Dude,
talking about
what's up?
politics?
What's up? How you been? We're talking about a little bit of politics here. Sunday Driver is a dyed in the wool Southerner that has certain opinions about the Civil War that are probably not very popular, and I'm trying to take a moderate line on it. But really, we're just waiting for this consumer expectations number in 30 seconds is what we really care about. So I'm just looking here. If they get to, well, let's change this to like 7. And then if we get down to this low, I'm totally down. Same with 64. Let's try bracketing it. 5 seconds. Care most about the consumer sentiment number Oh, they're already okay. They're not moving a whole lot. Consumer sentiment better than expected at 78.9. Current conditions better than expected at 87.8 versus an expected 85. They are buying it. I haven't gotten the inflation expectations yet.
RJ Wheel says HBO dodged a bullet. Last year they greenlighted a show with premise South 1 and slavery still existed today.
Oh,
Later
really?
killed it. Can't imagine if that was on air right now.
Oh, I bet. Oh, you know what this reminds? Oh, that one didn't work out. I watched Trading Places the other day, and there's no way that would get the green light today.
RJ Wheel says the Game of Thrones guys were doing it.
Because, well, maybe the movie overall it would, but there were some things in the movie that I was like, really? So, like, I missed it. What's his name? The white guy from Ghostbusters and in Trading. Dan Aykroyd. Dan Aykroyd does blackface in it. Like, I was like, what? They did that? What? Eddie Murphy thought that was funny? Okay, whatever. I was shocked. I actually didn't like the overall movie. I thought overall the movie was bad. Because the thing is that Dan Aykroyd became a hardened criminal off of it, which I think makes no sense. I think that it would have been way more better of a movie if, like, Dan Aykroyd had to learn to work hard and on the streets and do menial jobs and tried to make it as a white, as a blue collar guy.
It would be Morgan Freeman and Denzel betting if Pete Davidson could trade.
There you go. It would have been better if Dan Aykroyd was successful, Dang it. Anyways, but instead he just becomes a lunatic, and I didn't think that the overall message of this story was as positive as it could have been. I didn't think it was very American. But the scene with the trading in it was kind of okay, I guess. It was interesting to watch. And then there was just, like, really unnecessary nudity in it. I was like, why did they put that in there? They must have really wanted an R rating for some reason. But if they had made it as like a PG movie, it probably would have been way more successful. Probably would have been a better movie. And the humor in it, there was a couple of good lines, but, like, the actual, like, real big joke scenes, I thought were dumb. Like the whole train scene, that was dumb. Anyways, so there's my review of Trading Places. Could not believe some of the things in that movie, though.
Smash the Bid says, you hear about this crap? The Denver School Board has voted 7-0 to end the contract with the Denver Police Department.
Really? I didn't read that one either. That's crazy. I can't even in my high school.
Smash the Bid says, where is the common sense?
What would I would a little concerned to think what my high school would have been like if we didn't have the resource officer. That really is quite
RJ Wheel
alarming.
Says it's gone.
I really just, it's good to have ideas and to change things, but somebody really needs to give the left a lesson in how you should go about change. Okay, because to just be like set some ideology, like, here's the problem. Okay, ideology is not an effective way to make decisions.
Says talk in Los Angeles similar.
Ideology is not a good way to make government decisions.
RJ Wheel says Lady Antebellum changing their name was the end of civilization.
How is that
Luis
have a?
Alarid says Columbine, oh no.
I don't know anything about that band. How does that have connotation? What is the connotation there? Was that some Southern lady or something? I don't understand. Yeah, I'm okay with it so far. Would like to see us go to 3,100, but with the consumer sentiment that good, the inflation expectations are 2.6, which is way higher than it's going to be. But all of the consumer expectation numbers were good. I think we're totally free to move up. They're being lazy about it today for some reason. If it comes back low enough, I might try campaigning it again. Oh, there's a little stop run right there that might turn.
RJ Wheel says antebellum is name of homes in pre-Civil War.
Okay.
RJ Wheel says
Oh.
type of home. On plantations.
So why would they choose that as the name for their band? I don't get it. Well, that would be really hard to change the name of your band. But I wonder, maybe they change it to, maybe they come up with a really good name and they get a good marketing push off of it and it ends up being a really good thing for them. Who knows? Know nothing about them. They might be complete douches. Are they complete douches? Or do people generally like them? Oh, yeah, it's coming back. So here's my spot.
RJ Wheel says so now it's Ladia, but that's not enough. Every time I hear Lady AILL, think of antebellum.
Wow, they just changed it to lady? That's not good enough. Well, their choice.
RJ Wheel says oh how outrageous.
I would like to buy it in this area, but I don't think that I'm really getting quite good enough of a spot. I think that to justify adding more risk on. So I think that I'm just going to let this one contract try and run.
Smash the Bid says it's like someone walking into a bank and robbing it versus someone walking into a bank and robbing with a police officer sitting in the lobby. Which one is more likely? Good job BLM. You did it.
Yeah.
Smash the Bid says you made our children less safe.
It really is. So some of the things that they want to do are just really make no sense. Donald Trump Jr. tweets, yikes. Howard Stern says N-word too many times during awful blackface impression. They should have libs yelling cancel. He did what now? What?
RJ Wheel says Lady A I can't stop thinking nasty pre-Civil War homes.
I don't think that even Howard Stern can get away with something like that. Could they cancel his XM radio sponsorship and everything over that? Oh man. That would be something else. If the whole Black Lives Matters things ends Howard Stern of all people, that would be crazy, man. Ooh, interesting. I can't believe he would do that. Well, I can believe that he would do that, but that just doesn't seem very smart to me, man. Like even if you thought that it was funny and that it should be okay, you should be smart enough to realize that you're probably going to get taken off air off of something like that. I don't think that it's okay. I kind of find I always I don't know how to describe it, but the blackface thing always made me uncomfortable. Remember there was that scene in what is the movie with Neil Diamond?
Isarejo says well, I'm not in your country but I really don't like those guys.
I don't remember the name of the movie, but there's that movie with where Neil Diamond and they want to sing in a black club, so they wear blackface and I remember as a kid that bothering me, even though I knew nothing about the historical connotation of it or anything like that. So it bothers me for some reason. And of course, people using the N-word bothers me. even when black people do it. But that's because I grew up in a place where swearing is just really bad. Well, they're getting a pretty good distribution at 0.65. I want to call it half like treasuries, but no, 0.65. QA, a non-believer, advances to Georgia House runoff race. Rah. I think Q is the dumbest thing. Yeah, I shouldn't go into that one today. I might. I think that Q is from the information that I've had about how that started and everything, it just seems like the dumbest thing. I can't believe that people buy it. I don't see a whole lot of talk about the consumer sentiment numbers here. So it seems to me that it was good. And I think the market should move up, but people are going to be really hesitant. And I guess that they're saying that despite really good consumer sentiment numbers, that they're not really willing to add a whole lot of risk at the moment. I still think that there's a really good chance that we're going to go and take out that high, but it might take a really long time. But I've given myself pretty good room. I think I can just sit comfortably, because if it goes down and I'm end up being wrong, then I'm just wrong, I guess. Now, on the other hand, I could take it off here. You see that sweep in the micros again? Oh, you know what? Some of these are not updating correctly. That's a bit better. Also, haven't seen many big orders either. See, this spot is maybe a little bit more worthy of another contract, but I think that the situation does not call for more risk. So let's just chill out. Ooh, they want me. They're gonna come get me, I think. Yeah. Okay. Nope. There we go. Well, okay, there we go. I was about to say that did not play out the way that it should. Well, next spot is pretty far away at 30.48, so I'm gonna be a little. Yeah, come on. Some aggressive selling there. Does kind of fizzle out a little bit there at the end, but they're not showing like finished signs. So I think I need to let it ride a little bit more. Treasuries are getting pretty wild, actually. That could do it. Nope. Not behaving the way we want. Thought that was a pretty good run there, but they're already kind of holding above the break, and in fact, I might as well try flipping again. And then if we get something like that, we can double down into it. No. Somebody's still there trying to be like, no, let's sell it. Let's sell it. I don't know if he's convincing people, though. That might do it. Hmm. Yeah, it's going to stop out. Oh, phew. I'm say that right now the price action is pretty what's the word? Difficult. Now, if we were going to test some prices from overnight and or yesterday, There's definitely the 30-30 area. What also? What says our range estimate says upside 3103, which I think is very likely. Downside 3030. Yeah, they are seeing the same spots I am. I do see a get in now. Hmm. You are getting a lot of outside bars and stuff in this area. So like I said, it's like difficult action. We'll see if they move out. If they're able to get back into that distribution that we got at 3064, that could be really positive. It might take a bit to get it to do it though. Hmm. Oh, he showed me the whole stats of it. Wow. Hmm. Winners slightly bigger than losers. It's about equal, but it's 60%. Oh, 67. Hmm. What is this drawdown? Did they take me out there? Really? Yeah, they did. See what I mean? This is why I'm like, I wouldn't trade today. Chippy. So now another outside bar that's down. They're going down again. That last candle was a pretty good candle. I think that they could move a lot further now. Okay. That was really messy before they finally gave in. And it's not actually really decreasing in volume. The cumulative delta is not going down. Well,
Moon says, hey Seth, are you trading full time?
Not full time. I only trade like 2 hours. This action is still pretty negative.
Bot says hands on hips equals not trading this morning.
Yeah, well, it's all on the experimental account. So I don't know. That one worked pretty well, but watch it come back up and stop me out still. You watch the ones that we did take that were pretty bad. That last one I should have cut off a lot earlier, but this one's making up for it. But Rich in chat is very skeptical about everybody. It's okay. He'll figure it out.
Bot says if your short price is working too hard to be on the wrong side of the hour open at the moment.
If your short price is working too hard to be on the wrong side of the hour open. Yeah. Oh, you're right. We just barely opened on the hour. You're right. I don't know. I think that there's going to be more. The deltas seem to suggest to me that there should be a bit more. Oh, now I'm getting some extreme readings in tick that might make me want to take this off. So what we should do here, it might be a little bit too late. Right there. Oh, they both got taken out. That's not what I wanted to do. Gosh dang it. Wasn't fast enough. Should have just moved it. Okay. Next time just move it, Seth. I wanted to keep it, see if they came back up and finagle it lower. Okay, that's fine. That's okay, because if it comes back up, we can just do it again with another contract and less risk. It's fine. But deltas seem to suggest that, and not only that, but I'm looking for them to go to 30. 30 on the downside. And at this point, that's definitely the way that they're going. Gosh dang it. No. Watch me take an awful spot. Dang it. There. Ah, you gotta be fast. Okay. Ooh. Did you see that? Up, down, whoosh.
Bot says it resolved that direction moments after I posted that comment.
I know, right?
JB says gotta go. Have a good weekend, everyone.
Hey, thank you, JB. I really shouldn't have taken it off, should I? But I only wanted to take off one contract. I'm so mad. Well, that'll happen sometimes. Woo. Woo. Well, maybe I can just write this one down there. $30.30. What was that? The weekly.
Bot says
the monthly
3032.5 is the minus 50% VIX target.
330 was the month open, right? So I think that spot is the likely spot. On the upside, it was going to be 3,100, and I tried a few long, but they weren't, clearly wasn't the direction they were going in the end. After that first break, there was this one right here. Or was it?
Bot says and my BB zone is in the 3035.50 to 3037.50.
This one at 30.56. Oh, is that only at 30.56? That whole area was a roll.
Sunday Driver says I'm back. What did I miss? Bot says 3029.75 was the month open.
Yeah, it was 30.2975 was the month open. You're right. I think that's a really high value target. I wish that I had kept the other contracts. Oh well. No. Move it. There we go. Haven't learned my lesson yet, have I? Well, that's a pretty good pullback. We're getting to some pretty extended tick levels there. I can show some of the internals are actually a little bullish. There's definitely some buy the dip behavior in here. Man, I won't be so mad if they... Cool. Well, now I don't have to worry so much about being mad, but... They really should go down to here. Clicking. How much volume was on that? Why are they clicking? Why are they clicking? 37.25. Although this probably isn't too useful because we're still pretty light liquidity. Okay, wow. They're going to do it again. So hard to make money on shorts, isn't it? Isn't it? And like I said, I'm not going to be 100% today too. I just know based on the situation and everything else like that I'm probably going to make some bad choices. That's why I switched it over.
Bot says volume has moved to the 0920 contract by a narrow margin.
Sucks that they still didn't touch that. They came so close. They came so close. Hammer. Maybe I need to be faster here. No, it didn't give me the good one. That sucks. Okay, well, let's let them bust through this top side here. See, they want to take out the average true range stop for sure. And they're trying to create like a higher low and everything, but look right that like that. What the fuck? That was some whippy action. That's something that goes lower, I think. Like, that's not one that like I would normally expect to see. But if you're bottoming, I don't think that you're just gonna whip around like that. That's like somebody's scared. Somebody's scared or somebody's really trying to make something happen. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, the funniest thing just happened in Discord, guys. Igor announced that his wife was pregnant and somebody asked him who's the dad. Oh god, that's so funny, man. Oh my god, you guys. Oh, that's funny. Oh jeez. Yeah, see, they broke the last bar. You son of a bitch. This is so funny. That was a legendary moment, guys. Okay. My kids walks into my office so often. I wish I could force choke him from my desk. What? Okay. Now, are you still there, bots? What do you think about that? Because that was through our thing, but I don't know. I think I should take it right there. I'm going to take it right there. That was the plan, but it looks like it's going for more. Well, can you imagine if some of these other trades had actually like played out correctly? I could have done so much better. I'm mad at myself. I know. I guess it says something that when you're trading really poorly and
RJ
it's
Wheel says now that's a bullseye.
when I'm trading really poorly and it's action that I find really, really difficult and I'm still making money, that makes me happy. That makes me happy. Well, I'm not making money. I mean, that was the throwaway sim account. Let's be clear. But still, positive. I'm happy about it. That was though a little bit too far. I got out at 30 and there was 5 more in it. This is turning into something, guys. Next target 3,000. So I'm wondering, in a situation like that, should I really just try and let it go? Something has definitely like snapped, you know? John Grady pointing out that stocks are moving great, but treasuries not so much. And then since then, they've moved up 21 ticks. Okay, they finally turned over the volume weighted moving average. You know what? This would be a good spot to try and put on our super smoother and see the difference. Super smoother. It's super smooth. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a little different. Should still be short. There was that. I got out halfway. That's so sick. What a disgusting move, guys. Oh my gosh. Oh, there was a bounce there. I'm sitting here like, are they just going to go all the way down to 3,000 without stopping? Like, should I just be short here? Because that's kind of what it looks like at the moment. Of course, it can flip back up really quickly, but oh my gosh. And look at the number of outside bars that are down. This is really quite something else. To Korea's two looming crises. Oh boy. That is so wild. Should I feel bad? I could have done so much better, guys. Such a wild move. Bot's pointing out there's a lot of targets down there in the 3,000 area. Oh, don't forget to set input to typical on the super. Let's try that. You're right. Super smoother. So typical. I don't know if it really matters. Y'all think we will fill the gap? It's beyond my abilities now, man. Now, when we took that earlier one, what was it? Yeah, way back at the top of the hour, I think it was. Oh no, it wasn't. They didn't quite take it out. There was a ATR stop up there at 62 or something, and I got out, and they didn't actually hit it. Okay, well, we got an outside bar green. So maybe that can turn around for a bit. Hitting for your low. Is that what you meant there, Guido Sleddens? This is scary action. Scary action is about the only way I think I can put it. No stopping. Holy shit, guys. That took less than 10 minutes. Can you believe that? 30 points in 10 minutes. It just moved more than many of these days go in the whole day in 10 minutes. This is just unreal. As much as you watch markets, have you ever thought of creating an automated trading bot? You know what, Sunday, I've really tried, but I've just never been able to find something that was consistent enough for me to want to run it. I've made a lot of them though. Too many moving averages on that chart of yours. They're weighing the market down. Wow. You can see that the super smoother is not much better than the volume weighted moving average, is it? On that chart. Man. And they're not showing signs of slowing down. Okay, wait. Oh, okay. So the close was $29.99. That's where all of the numbers are going to be based off of. So to get like a 7% move, which is what we need, right? Let's calculate it exactly. 29.95 times 0.93 equals 27.89. I don't think that we hit that, but woo. The volume weighted moving average isn't much better than the super smoother. Yeah, it's not. I'm preferring the volume weighted moving average one just because that was the one that they base the strategy on. And it does involve a volume component. But I've never been able to find a situation where they were really drastically different. So, I don't know. You had the VIX target at 97. Yeah, they hit it. They hit it and they're letting off now. We need to add proper labels to that fixed range indicator. Yeah, or have, in the Ninja Trader one, yeah, that would be nice. Remind me if you're around tomorrow afternoon. I'm going to be like shot. So I'm going to be lifting heavy. I think I might have it. I could be wrong. I don't want to like set myself up here, but I think I might be able to get a 75 kilo snatch today. Finally. Or tomorrow. The ones that plot in the margin, not on the price scale. Oh, I get what you mean. We didn't name them very good in the plots. Okay, that's a good recovery. Fed says weekly employment data from ADP indicate that rehiring has continued and that payroll employment will likely move up again in June. Okay. They're probably sitting over there like, what's wrong? What's going on? What did you do? No, it's all, they must think that it was something they did. Well, that was a real rout. If that's not the low of the day, then we're really starting to get into panic territory. But I think after that one, I have to be done. Mm. The market ear asks, has the Fed started intraday commenting on markets now? Sorry, I need to remember to keep chat up over here. Chopsticks. Oh, how are you? Can you tell JPow to stop the printer? Yeah. You seem pretty jaded today. No, you know what? I did okay. I don't know. Wouldn't expect to do it amazing today, and they gave us some good opportunities, and we took advantage of it. I really wish that I had held that all the way, and we could have made $500. But oh well. Oh well. Feds are trying super hard to hold around 303. Well, I don't really see. Not really. So the most volume that I see is around 3013. But I haven't really seen them really step in significantly yet. Although it's very, very difficult. We don't really have the full I don't know what we say, advantage of volume because of the rollover. So it's kind of hard for us to see that sort of a stuff. And I'm kind of wondering if the roll is making it harder for the people that were doing that play and stopping the downside. I'm wondering if they're not able to do it now because of the roll. It just seems a little the way that it changed, the way that it just goes and it doesn't stop for anything is incredibly different from what we were seeing before. I guess it's like when the floor fell out the first time, isn't it? I think end of day dump might be super crazy. Oh, could be. Yeah. Well, you must live on the East Coast or the West Coast on Chopsticks. You know what? It was just such a strong move down. Really, for us to go from, it hasn't happened since we've been watching it. Normally, what happens is you'll come down to target one, there'll be a little bit of a bounce, and then if it's a really bad day, then they'll turn down and they'll go all the way to target two. But that time, they went right through target one, barely paused at all, and within 10 minutes, we're down at target two. Something that would normally take a whole day to do. Absolutely crazy. And the only time, well, I've seen times when it's been like that, I guess, beyond just when the floor fell out. Because there was that time period. When was it? I think it was going into the midterms. I think it was the fall before the midterms. And there was a real market rout at the time that was quite ugly. And that one really felt like that somebody was pushing the market over. And yeah, anytime that they would come into any kind of support, he would just rail into it. He'd just plow right into it and go through it. Feels a little bit different. This feels like just everybody selling and complete imbalance. That's why I was saying, well, how much of this move up really has been from retail speculation? That's quantifiable. And retail traders aren't going to hedge their bets. So that could explain why we move down so aggressively and we don't really see other assets like like gold or treasuries move nearly as aggressively. Treasuries did move up. I guess it was actually a pretty good move up, and it was a good 12 to 16 tick move up in the 10-year. So it wasn't bad. I really should have tried playing the treasury here differently. So I really could have just held it from 30.50. Thing that sucks about that one was that when I took the original one off, there was, like it started going right after that. So there was that. 46. So I missed 5 points there. And then I missed 30 points after that. Oh, man. They're getting down there. Shy is red. Everybody panic. Somebody wake up JPAL. Oh, right, because now we're below yesterday's close. Well, we're not to yesterday's low, 29.85. So I say that below the second volatility target, that the market is in panic. When we get below yesterday's low, people will really freak out. I think that today being Friday, that you'll have a hard time seeing them like really push like that. I think that they're just going to say, no, we were too high. We do need to stay down here. And 3,000 is a great spot to just stop for now. And then we can see where we're at on Monday. Fed, the collapse in demand may ultimately bankrupt many businesses. Thanks, Mr. Powell. That helps. New York Fed staff nowcast stands at 2020 quarter two at negative 25.9% with a previous of 25.5, and for quarter three to be negative 12.5 versus previous of 12. So they think that the market, the forecast is getting worse by them. So something else is weird is happening. Not weird, but the dollar is coming in now. We are seeing money move into the dollar. They are just totally fleeing the euro. And gold is down too. So here again, when we're having these crazy down moves and gold is down, okay, now they're doing the crazy again. Not the crazy, but the kind of the whippy all over the place sort of a thing. They're doing it again. And when I see that, that's usually indicative of they're selling. White House has heard the Fed has done a fantastic job in responding to the virus pandemic on Fox News. Ooh. Do it. Go, 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 go. Oh, no, it's not. I don't know. That one was a little too tepid. heck is this? CNN reporter starts a live shot by saying it's peaceful in Seattle. An occupier crashes the shot and tries to organize people to interrupt the shot. The reporter then says, no doubt some of these protesters are armed. And it goes and it goes and it goes. You're just walking around in a circle. All these people are trying to interrupt the shot. They are having a little bit of trouble making new lows now. Yeah, that's pretty good pullback too. You can see though, traders super interested in it now. Drill Team 6. That was a pretty good move. I mean, that was like 10 points right there, right? It's getting crazy. I think that to really, well, they're gonna want to try and get to 30-10. 30-10 is kind of the reversal area. Well, I'm gonna let this go for another 3 minutes. I know I'm like being quiet. It's just like, what more can you say when it starts doing that? But wild day. They did cross the moving average. Super smoothers moving up. Getting high tick readings. Some of those tick readings on the bottom were really bad, like below 1,000. there's going to be an average true range stop here at 10. Yeah, there it is. So if the bar closes above it, then it'll flip around. And it will say, we're in an uptrend now. Europe's red, right? Yeah, of course, Europe's red. Well, here's the European close right here, right? Bit of a rally into the European close as they close their positions. No, excuse me. Okay. So there's Europe. Ugh. Well, if they go lower today, it'll be interesting. If they break the overnight low, it'll be really interesting. But today, I would expect to still be an inside day. Technically, it's still an inside day. Man. What a day. I don't think that I really have anything more to say about it except for traders gonna trade. Get your mug, video description below. And I will see you guys on Monday for another what is sure to be a wild week. Should I say wild? It'll be an interesting week. Let's say that. I like to use the word interesting. That's a good adjective. You know what? I need better adjectives. That's what I'm going to do this weekend. Okay. Stay profitable, friends.